Pronti? Ready? ¿Están listos? Cominciamo. Esta mañana vamos a hablar en español. Muchas gracias, Andy. Muchas gracias. Buenos días a todos. Bienvenidos al último día, el último día de nuestro Shaping Tomorrow. Nos quedan dos conferencias, dos reuniones con tres.
Good morning, everybody. So today is our last day. We have 3 guests.
Otros días vamos a ver un breve video resumen de ayer.
So just like for the other days, let's see a recap of yesterday.
My name is Simone, I'm a content creator, and today we talked about social media, storytelling, and the power of video. I think events like this are super important to get closer to new generations. We don't watch TV anymore, and the way we communicate is definitely different. We need these short videos, these Instagram Reels, TikTok. It's a new thing, and it's actually what we need right now.
So my name is Laura Wagner-Meyer. I'm from Scene TV, and we are at the Shaping Tomorrow's Future conference. I just did my first session yesterday, and we really learned a lot about social platforms. And today's session looked at applying all of those, but in the context of migrants and refugees. How do we get the younger generations involved in these discussions? How do we get them to care about these kind of topics? The way we communicate changes so often. We need to make sure that we're keeping up with the times. Having conferences like these are brilliant. It really sheds lights on issues that's going around the world and how we can help them.
Bienvenido a Monseñor Arzobispo Sarkusian Thomas Menam Parampil.
I'm sorry, but the sound is really bad.
Esta mañana
We cannot hear well. We're trying to solve the problem. We're trying to solve the technical problem. Can you please tell someone
y ahora
that we cannot hear?
tenemos a Stalman con el tema de cómo puede la estrategia de marca cambiar a mejor la obra salesiana en todo el mundo. Dedicaremos
We cannot translate at the moment. I don't know if anybody can
formularios
inform the technicians. We cannot hear.
Hola, hola, buenos días. ¿Cómo estamos hoy? ¿Estamos bien? ¿Sí? ¿Hemos descansado? ¿Sí? ¿Estamos contentos?
Good morning. Are you okay? Did you rest well? Are you happy?
Como adelantamos,
Wonderful.
y vamos
So
a dedicar
today
un ratito al-
we will talk about brands as we said yesterday. Then in the final part of this conference, we will try and focus on the questions. To know what are the worst questions, the ones that will not come. So I hope there will be many questions. So let's go straight to the topic
marca
and
para poder
let's talk about how we build brands in order to create connections and to be significant for the lives of people. First of all, I'd like to thank the 7 people who shared on Instagram and Twitter what we asked you to share. So these 7 people already have a great positioning for the future. And as for the others, I know that you didn't have time to do that yesterday, but I ask you to do that today because it's a great way to have connections, to amplify messages. Always remember it's important to share
la marca Salesian
content points with the audience because this leads to the creation of a brand. You, Salesians, you are a brand, so it is important to build brands and share contact points where these conversations can happen. I'm talking about conversations, not broadcasting.
cuando un lugar
So way in,
más destacado
way out. In the modern world, brands
afirma
play a very important role. 9 citizens out of 10 say that politicians are more committed to divide us rather than uniting us.
marcas están
People hope in the power of
cada vez más destacadas
brand to unite us rather than the political world. And so brands
valores y aspectos
are having a very important role. It's important to talk about brands which represent fundamental values and brands like the Salesian one. This process of change and transformation, I'd like to talk about learning on the field.
única verdad digo
As for the 5 continents, I'm not saying this is the only truth, but at least this is the truth that I'm learning with you
creación o
and I want to share with you. The most important thing in this creation, transformation process is
que el viaje
has to do with the journey rather than the destination. And the most important of this journey are the people with whom we share the journey. And so the most important thing now, so now I'd like to ask you to create pairs among you and to look at you in your eyes. So look at the eyes of the person next to you for 5 seconds. Try to establish a eye contact. 5 seconds. The person next to you.
y le buscamos
If there is anybody who doesn't have
ahora
a person next a neighbor,
ahora miren
let us know. Now look at me. Look at me.
misma pareja
And now
se ve
I ask
10
you
segundos por favor 10 segundos
with the same person keep an eye contact for 10 seconds rather than 5. So 10 seconds.
listo
Perfect.
pregunta levante la mano
Now, a question.
la otra persona, una persona
Raise your hand if you have seen a smiling face in the other person. Everybody. Why? Because everybody smiles
sonreímos en el mismo idioma.
using the same language. We all smile using the same language, and it's been demonstrated through concrete data and studies that those brands which inspire or which contaminate, starting from a happy attitude, are more admired than the ones that don't do that. That's why it's very important to highlight the importance of these aspects. You know that very well because you're caring, you're people that smile and hug. We have to remember it's very important to establish connections. Brands try to build in their customers, in their users, etc.,
de
a
conexión y de orgullo.
feeling of belonging,
Y es importante
of connection, and
y fundamentales
pride
que las
of
marcas
being part of the brand. These are fundamental
en
aspects
la mente
concerning the branding process and which make that brands consolidate in the minds and hearts of the people. And within this growth process, which concerns global brands such as the Salesian brand, which is present in several countries, there are tools which are emerging and which can help us so that our content can amplify in a quicker way and more effective and more economical way. I see a lot of messages, I see a lot of noise, but I don't see value proposals that can make the difference. If we say the same thing more or less, nobody say the same thing. So who I choose when a proposal is given to me, a value proposition given to me.
¿no? Ahí va.
Veo muchos mensajes,
Ahora
veo
sí.
mucho ruido, pero no veo realmente propuestas de valor diferenciadoras. Es decir,
So I will repeat. I see many messages, but I see different propositions. If we all say the same things, nobody says the same thing. If we all say the same thing, who do I choose when the value proposition is always the same?
种不同的价值主张。换句话说，如果我们说的都差不多，那就没有人说不同的话；如果我们都说同样的话，那么当接着公主意识，我该选谁呢？Vedo molti messaggi, vedo molto rumore, ma non vedo proposte di valore differenziate. In altre parole, se tutti diciamo più o meno la stessa cosa, nessuno
So in other words, if we all say the same thing, nobody says different.
Y
proposta di
más,
valore è sempre la
apretando
stessa.
un botón.
I see a lot of
Incluso
messages,
ahí
I see a lot of
bajamos un
noise.
poquito el audio.
So any
Tecnología
there is a technical issue. So we can just push a button and use the technology that makes the modulation and movement of the mouth to be in line with what is pronounced in a language. So there are no
es
problems to reach a total audience. When we talk about global audience, it's important to understand the attitude, the behavior we mentioned yesterday. So the generational change, Generation Z and Alpha. But the fact that we have stopped talking about people that are more than 60 years of age. Today, longevity is almost double than in the past. In Europe, for example, we have a population that is older and at the same time can live more years in a state of health and using the necessary resources. So it is positive to look at the youth to understand what's going to happen, but it is also important to understand what we learned. As for the use of technology to amplify the power of brands, some use the technologies in a very powerful way.
Of the most popular languages.
Let's see this example.
And I keep learning new languages. Last but not least, I always look great in the morning because I do not go out late at night.
Esta persona que ven aquí es la ministra, es del Ministerio de Exteriores de Ucrania. ¿Alguien conoce a esta mujer?
So this person is the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. Do you know her? This person does not exist.
Está creada con
We
inteligencia,
have A woman that does not exist, created with artificial intelligence, and who represents the voice in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of a country. The resources starting to appear are more and more powerful. That's why the fact that we say, I do not have time, I do not have money, these are excuses that can no longer be used to justify the lack of activity, because there are many resources now which are free, and so we just have to decide and act. So as for the successful brands, it is important to recall that what counts is not the logo, which is part of the identity, but define what our identity is, what defines us and makes us different from the others, what inspires us, what are the threads which make me act, and how I live values, facing the values of the life. This is very interesting, because if we summarize the most important aspects based on which the majority of Salesian activities develop, then we find the elements such as education which is at the center of the transformation of our world. Those who don't see in education the spinal cord of every solution, those who have not learned. And then we have training. This is fundamental. In organizations, we talk about upskilling, reskilling, what we learned 10, 15 years ago not necessarily will be needed in the next 10, 15 years, or will not necessarily be useful in the next years. There are studies which demonstrated that what we are learning will be useful in the next months, but then we will have to update ourselves. Innovation is fundamental to evolve and to change. So training as another fundamental pillar, then the commitment towards the community. Today, brands try to create communities, but communities cannot be created on the basis of promotions, discounts, etc. The community is built starting from shared values, a shared value, a value proposition different from that of the others, and we have to believe in this something. Then we have ethics. Unfortunately, ethics today is one of the great absent in the global world, and there is a little transition from aesthetics to ethics, luckily, but there is a lot to do, and it is one of the main elements for successful brands. And then we have inclusion. If we are not inclusive, we are not open, if we do not turn into accessible units for those who lag behind, we will have problems. Today, 15% of the world population is made of disabled people. How many organizations, how many institutions include these people and consider these people as peers? All the pillars that you have, maybe I have not included all of them, but they are those which are needed to create significant realities, powerful realities. Now, what must communicators do? What skills do they need? What do brand builders need to have? Those who build communities and brands in order to be transcendental. So, this is a study. What it says is that we need soft skills such as creativity, collaboration, persuasion, adaptation, time management, because we are rich in information but poor in time. And several brands very often prefer to say they don't have time not to change, not to transform themselves. The 21st century society doesn't have time not to have time anymore. So, one of the great paradigm shift now is that in the 20th century a big brand or company used to eat a smaller company, but in the 21st century, it is an agile organization, innovative and rapid organization that can really make the difference. There's a story that says that there are two friends that go on vacation to the savannah in Africa to disconnect with the society where they were. During a walk, they saw a an animal, so a mother cheetah, and so one of the friends says, "What can we do?" And the other one starts to lace its shoes, and the friend says, "But what are you doing? It's impossible to run faster than the cheetah." And he says, "Oh no, I don't want to go faster than the cheetah. I want to run faster than you." So today, speed, a well-directed speed is fundamental. In the same time, it is fundamental to understand that our population keeps growing, and doesn't do that in the same way in any part of the world. There are some places where it starts to grow and others when it doesn't grow. So it is important to know where the future is being built and where it is necessary to focus our energy. Moreover, when we talk about branding, well, I'd like to share an example about an association called World Vision. When we worked with World Vision, one of the most important problems we saw was that when it was time to share their content, there were all these logos and brands, so much confusion. So when we analyzed the universal World Vision, we could not understand whether it was World Vision of something or something else. It is an NGO that didn't dedicate too much time to its branding until it realized that the branding is a fundamental aspect to build value. So it doesn't only make it possible to have a great position so that you can be recognizable, but a good brand is a synonym of possibility of generating new income, new revenue in order to promote the actions one dedicates to. So as for the story I was telling you, we have been called to help them, and so we started to create an identity around the idea, around the leitmotif, so that in any part of the world, regardless of whether it was a developing country, more or less powerful country, young or old country, this common thread had to unify the world of World Vision. It was not only a matter of updating a logo, but of creating a visual unity that could be recognized beyond the logo. And as a final result, what we did was to create this tapestry of our land capable of uniting community, starting from our initiatives focusing on people. So this is what we did. Yesterday we were talking about the importance of humanizing brands. This does not mean that a brand has to transform itself into a human. By humanizing a brand means that a brand must understand that the brand is a person, employees are persons, customers are persons. If we don't understand people, we don't understand brands. When we talk about the need to build this identity, this visual identity, well, what we concretely did was to try and participate in events, try and create brochures, leaflets, merchandising elements so that we could spread these elements, the tone of voice, the personality of the brand, the way in which each contact point with our audience could be important, relevant, and make our message unique. I'm summarizing in a few words, in a few minutes, a work of several months. At the end, we reached a point when this identity, which was extremely heterogeneous, chaotic, and which made several opportunities lost, well, became homogeneous, recognizable, solid, and at the same time, every time we saw something related to this architecture of the brand, we knew what was behind it. When someone has a global brand, of course, we have to tropicalize, let's say, the messages, the tone of voice. But if you analyze global brands such as Nike, the symbol of Nike doesn't change depending on the country. The same goes for Starbucks. Apple does not transform its apple with a pineapple or another fruit depending on the country where it works. And so this visual consistency of the brand is fundamental to consolidate the recognition of the brand, its power today, tomorrow, and to facilitate the work of everybody. Why? Because when we have clear the way in which a brand develops, everybody contributes to create this differentiating value of the brand. Sometimes people are afraid to enter unknown spaces, but this is interesting. It's there that matches are won, and so these proposals which create difference.
según estudios en diferentes lugares, nunca van a suceder. Con lo cual, tratemos de avanzar.
According to several studies, 90% of the things that concern us will never happen. So we have to work quickly without being afraid of the speed, and this requires us to act fast. If we advance in the creation of our brand, knowing where we have to go, will be successful. It is important to change, to act, and to know the direction. So brands are made of courage. Courage is necessary to transform, to evolve. At the same time, something else is very important. You have thousands and thousands of stories, emotional stories, touching stories, and the fact that every person is a story.
Si hablamos de María,
We
que vive en el noroeste,
So there are 150,000 people, okay, but what counts are not the numbers but the stories. Maria, who lives in northeast Argentina. Well, there we give a name to a person. We start with a story. We create a
tienen a la juventud,
connection with that person. You have in your hands the stories of tomorrow. You have in your hands the youth, education, faith, hope.
en esta época donde hay
And the stories you tell are stories which resonate in this time made of anxiety, solitude. So we have to grasp faith, the stories you say, you tell, and hope. At the same time, it's very important to keep focused because there are several things which are happening, as we saw yesterday, but also the other days. News innovations appear every day. You stop doing something and something else appears. You focus on something and something else happens. So it's like everything stayed there unfinished.
pero sin
So it is important to understand what's happening, but at the same time, it is important to stay focused on what we are doing. The fascinating thing about your work is that your work is based on concrete solutions. And so, this is a very difficult aspect, but there's something missing the fact that the actions you carry out have resonate towards the external world, and communication is the bridge which make this resonance with the external world possible. There are questions which suggest you to that I suggest you to raise every month, at least to update your communication strategies in the light of the dynamic feature of the world. What's happening in the world requires from us to raise the several issues. There are several questions. Now, we know in our mind where we want to go as communities, or maybe we want to go to a different place of the world. We have clarity about this horizon, this shared horizon. Where do we want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And when I say where do we want to stay, I'm not talking about the concrete geography. And how can we reach this place? How can we be where we want to be and achieve our goals? Of course, this requires something that is a plan, a management, a strategy, and an implementation of this. So I believe that in this moment, the actions you are embracing must have echo from a communication point of view. And then there is a question I'd like to ask you. Is there anything you do today if you were not afraid of communication, internet, the new technologies, or are you doing everything you want to do and there is no fear from you? It is interesting to see how, starting from cultural changes, what starts to manifest through art. Art in some places says everything failed. Don't you believe that the time has come for love? So if we think of love that has connection, it makes us do something. It makes us more human. And those brands which understood that heart is more important than having likes, well, these are being successful. Do you know how important it is that a person feels embraced by a brand? How many times a phone company calls me, or an electricity company calls me, an insurance company called you to say thank you for what you are doing for us? Never, never. There is no love in these relations. It's as if everything was based on transactions. Powerful brands should never be based on transactions. On the contrary, they should be based on relations. But the big brands fight for four things: time, the time of people; the attention of people; love for people; and their money. Competition is more and more difficult, more and more complex. But those who can try and promote rather than like love modify the way in which the game develops, and they win this game. The paradigm in the brand's world is directed to being rather than an empathetic leadership. In the long term, we cannot always show immediate results, but we have to project ourselves to the future because change is important if we share it with someone important. Humankind, um, the human at the center of everything are important values. Trust. We have to try and be proactive rather than reactive. We have to be active. We have to understand spirituality in a place which is different and detached from the world of today, with a good purpose and with love and service.
On top of this shift in the model, I'd like to mention a few points related to brand strategies. Brands should be leaders of a positive change when it comes to the influence and the impact they have. The diversity and the inclusion within the organizations, mental health, physical health, and emotional health. They are strictly connected and they go beyond productivity. The massive impact AI will have and is already having. Sustainability, not only as environmental sustainability, but also as economic and social sustainability. Innovation in each and every initiatives that are taken. Moreover, innovation is not only linked to technology, it is also linked to processes, to ideas, or to different questions. Therefore, innovation should be interpreted from a deeper point of view. Nostalgia has become fashionable, meaning that some elements of the past are becoming popular. And which are these past elements that are being looked at with interest? Another important point is humanization, meaning that we have to get to the essence of everything. We have to get back in connection with who we are, with our ambitions, with our inspirations, and we have to focus on those elements that make us different from the machines. Another important topic is experience. How many of you do have a positive memory of your experience as a student in primary school or in high school? So, you could ask this question to youngsters outside the Salesian community. Positive experiences in learning, not only when it's about teachers, it is also about life, and it is related to your experiences outside the community. Unfortunately, nowadays, education is not producing positive experiences. What are consumers asking the brands? We are, of course, talking about a positive contribution to the society. Consumers are asking brands a higher moral level to work as a unifier among people of different origins. Well, these are reactions by people, and they are demands from the people to the brands. You may be wondering why branding is so important. Who is wondering about it? Or is that clear to you, why branding is so important? I'm going to give you 10 additional reasons for the importance of branding. First reason, the differentiation of products, services, and institutions. So, differentiation comes thanks to a good branding process. In a world where most people try to be better than the other, but they do not succeed. It's also very important to generate loyalty, and that's difficult because there's a plethora of alternatives that are easy to reach for customers. So unless you, as a brand, are inspiring, you're different, you won't succeed in achieving customers' loyalty. Another important element related to the importance of branding is the generation of confidence. When you do good branding, you entail good confidence. A good branding increases the perceived value. If you increase the perceived value, you get into a dimension of quality, which is highly appreciated by customers. When you have a good branding strategy, this helps you to reach new markets, new sectors, new territories, and new communities. Having a good brand is not the same as having a bad brand when you break into new markets. A good branding strategy helps organization increasing and improving their profitability. And moreover, a good branding strengthens our identity as well as our values. On top of it, they streamline marketing, and it gives you a broader scope. And in saying so, I'm referring to social networks, which is the main place when people spend their time.
el branding es una herramienta
Branding is
fundamental para
a fundamental tool to build value,
y rentable.
to build a transcendental and sustainable value over the course of time.
Podrán ir traduciendo, no.
I'm going to show you a video which perhaps won't be translated. Well, it's a video that it's quite graphic. Do you know the football team Boca Junior? Sure, you know it. It's the most famous in the world.
Miren este video
So please,
y van a entender qué significa ser
have a look at this video. You'll understand the meaning of being a beloved brand. Who do you love the more, me or Boca? Boca. Boca's never gonna quit you. If I have to choose, I'll always go for Boca. Well, football, of course. She said that. Boca. Boca is the love of my life. Well, surely I would go for Boca Junior. I'm gonna kill him. Boca is a passion. It's love. If I had to tattoo something, I would put the symbol of Boca and I'll write her name, Nuria, below it. Well, it's interesting that this is just a football announcement and you won't see football, you won't see any football players, you only see people.
tiempo para esas preguntas.
We're now going to move on to the last 5 minutes of my presentation and then we will get into the question and answer session.
Texto de cambio
Within this changing environment and transformation,
humano.
we have to get back to the human dimension, which is the most transcendental one,
Todo lo que se pueda automatizar,
because
se va a automatizar.
as long as everything that can be automized is automized, and as long as everything that could be digitalized will be digitalized, there's going to be one element that will never go through a process of automation and digitalization, and that's emotions. So brands
Que conectan,
and institutions
juegan,
generating an emotional connection, they play in a different league.
y la experiencia no se puede transmitir como
We've also mentioned the experience. Experience cannot be transmitted with words. It should be experienced directly.
de pedirles un ejercicio.
I'd like to
El que quiera lo puede hacer.
ask you to engage in a small exercise. It's not a compulsory one. If you do not feel like doing it, don't do it. Well, if you want to take part into it, please stand up, leave your laptops.
¿Sí? Hay que ponerse de pie.
So please stand up.
No tengan miedo, no les voy a pedir plata, nada, ¿eh? Tranquilos. ¿Eh?
I'm not going to ask you money, so don't worry.
¿Bien?
It's a safe exercise.
Los que están escuchando en otro idioma, ¿me están siguiendo bien?
Can people listening to other languages and Spanish hear me well? Can you all hear me well? English, French, and Italian speakers, can you hear me well? Oh no, you were just stretching. Okay. Well,
Que han demostrado que abrazarse es bueno para la
a
salud.
few medical studies have shown that hugging each other is very good for health. It lowers the level of anxieties, it lowers the heartbeat, so there's a plethora of medical reasons showing that hugging is good for our health.
Nos muestran
There are also studies showing us that
o recibimos
if we give or if we receive 8 hugs a day,
8 abrazos al día de un mínimo de 6 segundos cada uno,
lasting a minimum of 6 seconds each, which is less than 1 minute per day. Let's just think that we spend several hours connected to the internet, so I guess we can spare a minute for hugging. Our
que la normal.
brain produces twice more serotonin than usual, so we have to be more generous in trying to share confidence around me. I know you like what I'm saying, but you don't believe me. That's why I invite you
8 abrazos,
to give
6 segundos.
and receive at least 8 hugs lasting 6 minutes. And when you finish, you you're going to tell me whether what I said is true or not. Do you want to do it?
¿Cómo se abraza la familia?
How do family members hug? Go for it.
Es ganador total. Bueno, hola, hola. Hola, hola. Bueno, muy bien.
Well,
Muy bien. Muy bien.
very good. Thank you.
Muy bien. Bueno, primero que nada, gracias.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for engaging in it.
Gracias. Muy lindos abrazos y muy emocionantes los abrazos.
It's been moving seeing you hugging each other. Well, let's conclude this session in order to move on to the question and answer session. But before, I'd like to remind you that what matters the most of doing important things, not being important.
Realidad incuestionable, innegable y demandable.
Doing important things, it's what people ask for. We all know that speaking is easy, doing is hard. Therefore, communicating is fundamental. We all know that if we have a plan and a strategy for the future that generate confidence, that share positive values, that strengthen the human dimension and foster relationships, we can have more chances to be a brand that changing the world and having an impact in the world out there. There are a few suggestions I'd like to give you. You have to reject conventional ideas. You have to make things happen, and you have to be proactive. You should not wait for things to happen in your kitchen. You have to challenge rules. The world is changing, therefore we have to change all the time in order to improve ourselves and to keep learning. It is also important to learn outside of our bubble. We learn much more when we interact outside our bubble. if things don't go well on social networks, if you make mistake on social networks, it's not the end of the world. You may learn from it and move on. Not doing anything will prove to be much more expensive. The branding process is not done, is not concluded until you have actually concluded it. Being brave doesn't mean that you have to advance without fear. It means that you have to try and risk. If you do good things, what matters the most is not the result, it's the process. The only one who is going to be unsuccessful is the individuals that do not take any risks. It is also key to remember the transcendental impact you have in the present and for the future. And that's where I believe that the work you do is going to bring us into a better future. Sometimes hugging each other, communicating our love changes the terms of an equation, because hugs are inspiring, they produce confidence, and they generate love. I would like to conclude by talking about the journey. When I walk, I want to walk together with people who dream, people who believe, people who are brave, but who are also joyful. When I travel, when I walk, I want to go with people doing plans and implementing those plans and making them a reality. I want to walk, I want to travel with people who have the head in the clouds, but their feet on the ground. I want to walk and travel with people who want to live a better world than the one they found. These are inspirational principles for me. Therefore, nowadays, I don't want you to give me a round of applause. I want to give you a round of applause for everything you've done and for everything you'll do. Thank you very much for your attention.
Muchas gracias, Sandy. Tenemos
Thank you, Sandy.
fantásticas preguntas. Muchísimas gracias.
We have an awful lot of questions.
Si fueras el asesor
Well,
de marca Salesianos,
if you were an communication expert for the Salesian congregation, what are the main steps forward that you would do to improve the Salesian communication? First thing a good communication consultant or expert should do is listening and understanding. Understand who you are, what are your objectives, and the resources, the time span, and the staff you have to achieve those objectives. Nobody from outside can come in and tell the Salesians what you have to do. However, you can work with external consultants with specific knowledge, for example, me, about branding, and work together. After you have understood each other, to elaborate strategies to achieve your goals.
que puede ser la estrategia para que nuestros superiores,
What is the strategy, in your opinion,
obligaciones de gobierno,
to have our superiors to understand the importance of generating links and to take actions instead of only spreading words? That's extremely relevant, and there's also, indeed, there is an issue with leadership. In some organizations, the leaders are leaders focus too much on the daily business. They have urgent matters at hand, so they can't focus on the long-term strategies. Quite often, when there's a change in the leadership organization, there's also a change when it comes to the leadership direction. However, in some organizations, such changes start from the grassroots level to the higher ranks. When the change should be made, and if the leadership doesn't understand how to make this change, they have to ask for the lower ranks of an organization. And I believe that the fact that the Salesian congregation is postponing a good marketing strategy and a good branding strategy is missing on an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Una actuación en segmentos distintos como educación, acción social.
We work in education, we work in the social field, among the others. How can we do branding for a group that is so diverse? Very good question.
Que está presente creo que en 136 países.
A brand like yours, which is present in 173 countries, if I'm wrong, is very difficult when it comes to managing its branding. So we should get into social education, and every field you work in needs a specific knowledge. When it comes to observing the world, I always tell that a brand needs a shared horizon, that is to say, light showing the way. However, we must be flexible enough so that every sector can act, and even though each one of your sectors identify with the same principles, you can do different things. There's also a matter related to the countries. Of course, the reality in Spain is different from the reality in Cameroon. So the brand is the same, the values are the same, but the impact and the strategies must be tailored to the context. Currently, the Salesian congregation doesn't have a unified brand. So my question is, how can we unify our brands within the same visual identity that works better when getting in a relationship, when connecting with the youngsters? Well, you have consultants like me who can help you. Now, well, jokes apart, well, when a brand is not unified, when there's no coherence in applying the brand, makes you lose opportunities, makes you miss on opportunities. However, it's also miss opportunity when it comes to the impact, because the impact gets diluted. Therefore, the identified pain is something that should be fixed as soon as possible, not only for the Salesian, but also for the daily management and the daily routine of communication officers within the Salesian congregation. So don't postpone your branding strategy. Deal with it as quickly as possible. Well, Don Bosco had the Salesian congregation has only one brand all over the world. Do you think that we should differentiate it, have different logos? Well, as I said before, if you have to establish a branding strategy, branding architecture, well, I do not tell you what you have to do. I usually don't tell whether you have to do for a hybrid, a single branding, or a diversified branding. What I feel, without knowing too much about you, I think that you should go for. I believe that your brand has a global value that is valid all over the world. Let's just, for example, focus on the brand Italy, or the Spanish brand, or the Boca Junior brand. Do you believe that they change their symbols all over the world according to the country? Do you think that they change their values, or do you think they use the same brand all over the world with certain exceptions that are based on the context? Never forget that a brand is the only asset of every organization that has a long-lasting value if it is well managed. The value of a brand goes beyond its impact, which is also an economic impact. We have much more questions. In our organizations, quite often, strengthening a brand is very difficult due to selfishness and to individualism. What's the best possible strategy to have a common brand within such context?
Estamos diciendo que tenemos esta batalla de egos y demás, es un mal ejemplo, ¿no?
Well, being selfish is a bad practice.
De una buena educación y si nosotros no nos ponemos de acuerdo.
We're not giving a good example.
Proyectando, con lo cual hoy la marca quizás es un síntoma que hay que atender y que puede
Therefore,
esto y dejar los egos de
selfishness is a symptom that should be dealt with. It should be abandoned. And selfish people within the organization should understand that the congregation is common good, and selfishness has a negative impact on the congregation. If well-directed speed is a good thing, what kind of values should we not neglect? Well, speediness goes hand in hand with humanity. Being quick means that if you have a communication opportunity today, you should not miss, you should not spend 5 days in a committee to approve an Instagram post or a LinkedIn post. Communication officers should be empowered in order for them to be quick in making posts. Quickness and essence are not opposite. If we are quick, it means if we're quick, we may even enrich our essence. One last question.
World vision.
How can the Salesian understand their problems? Well, the visual expression of a brand is the easiest step. What's more difficult when it comes to branding is understand why that brand exists, for whom does it exist, why is it important, why is it relevant, why does it have an impact. So if you want to restore the visual identity of the Salesians, you should understand that that's an actual problem and you don't need an external consultant to understand it. If I have a problem and I turn my head to the other direction, I have another problem. Thank you very much, Andy, for your interesting speech, which has been extremely important for all of us, for the old church, for this Salesian family. Thank you very much for your time. See you soon.
Gracias.
Thank you very much to you and to all the audience.
Muchas gracias.
Intervallo caffè. Vamos a tomar un cafecito ora.
We're now going to break for a short coffee break. We're going to resume our conference at 10:30. Thank you.
Cominciamo.
Okay, so we start with the last speech. Today we will speak Italian. We will speak Italian, so get ready for the translation.
Pronti, Mubanga. Mubanga is coming. Thank you, Mubanga. Nice colors. Buongiorno di nuovo, adesso parliamo italiano.
Good morning. Now we will speak Italian. It is the last speech of today. As I said, during this conference, during this session, we will have two people. The first one is Donatella Parisi, who will talk with her friend Ducler Legoncan, che è un ba, che è un malò.
Di comunicazione con i migranti.
So they will talk about communication with migrants and refugees. So once again, we talk about this topic. Donatella has a degree in law
Per oltre 15 anni
with a thesis on international law. For more than 15 years, she coordinated the communication on the International Center of the Jesuit Refugee Service, consolidated a lot of relations with journalists, press agencies, and web communicators. She studied social communication, forced migration, human rights, intercultural society, on which over the years she curated several publications, and she wrote papers and other publications. She's coordinator at the Laudato Si Center of the Vatican City, created by Pope Francis for integral ecology and social justice topics. Together with her, we have with us Ducler, a refugee from Cameroon,
abita in Italia.
who is now living in Italy. So after the first part of the Donatella's presentation, Claire will talk about his life and will give
La parola per
his testimony. Donatella, you have the floor.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the presentation. So today I'm here with Duclair. We are friends because we worked for several years together in schools, and we want to tell adolescents what refugees are and what they have to say. And when the university proposed me to participate in this conference and explain to me the meaning of this conference, something came to my mind. That is, the best thing to do is that this hour we spend together is the space in which a refugee can express themselves in first person and can be the carrier of an important message to give to those who want to well communicate the topic of forced migration, climate change, social justice. And so I chose Duclair among my refugee friends because Duclair was a teacher in Cameroon. He was teaching French. He was also a political activist, a boy with ideas of peace and justice in his country. And his choice, his ideals, he had to pay for them at a high cost because he was forced to leave his country across the several countries, the desert, Libya, the Mediterranean Sea, to come to Italy. In Italy, another journey started, which is called welcoming and integration, which is not easier than the one that took him to Italy, because there are many obstacles, because being a teacher in Italy for a refugee is not and it's not easy. And so I believe that creating spaces where refugees can express themselves is the most important communication act we can do today, in this time where communication, where mass media always talk about refugees, and sometimes they talk too much, but not very often they talk to refugees, listen to them, and are empathetic with them. And so, what we want to suggest today is this experience, listening of a testimony where is just a refugee who talks about the refugees. Mine will be just an introduction to his intervention, which will last a few minutes, where I will try to contextualize the experience we are trying to do together today. So I'm here because for 20 years I worked with refugees in several countries where you come from. The Center Jesuit Service defends the rights of refugees. I know many projects which Jesuits develop and implement with Salesians. For 20 years, I tried to communicate. I try to create listening opportunities for refugees coming to Italy, because the experience we had for several years is the fact that refugees are not a problem but a gift, and this is something we are deeply convinced because we experimented it and we lived it. They are artisans of hope, they're masters of hope, as Pope Francis says, because um, who wouldn't like to have a friend that for an ideal of peace, justice, sacrifice everything, their family, their friends, and start a journey, a difficult journey, very uncertain. Many people cannot finish the journey, die during migration. They are heroes, common heroes that live among us and occupy our cities, go to our schools, and attend our communities, but are often invisible. The operation that we must do is to shed light on these people, not only because it is an issue of dignity for humans, but because by turning a light on these people, we can enlighten the whole community, and we are better communities, stronger communities. From this belief, we start with an intervention which declared the center. Pope Francis tells us there are no two separate crises, an environmental and a social one, but just one single and complex socio-environmental crisis. This is told by Pope Francis. Why am I referring to him? Because today I'm talking here, this is something that the Pope said at the Centro di Alta Formazione Laudato Si, which wants to make the principles of the Laudato Si tangible: integral ecology, environmental sustainability, circular economy, generative economy. In order to achieve these three pillars, refugees, also in this case the people that are in vulnerable conditions, are at the center of this project that Pope Francis wanted. There is no social justice without climate change. There is no integral ecology without social justice. So this means that if everyone on earth do not have bread and water, there will never be social justice. If we don't intervene with important and urgent actions on climate change, social justice will be just a mirage that we will keep looking from far away without reaching it. And so this project is what makes us be here today, to tell you a life story. The United Nations tell us, so the latest data were presented in June 2024. They refer to 2023. The global press of the UNHCR told us that every 2 seconds a person is forced to leave their house because of conflicts or natural disasters. In the world, there are 117 million refugees. In my intervention, lasting 20 minutes, imagine that in front of us 600 people come. So this happens every 2 seconds. 600 people are forced to flee, are forced to leave their house by disasters, wars, hunger, the lack of perspectives. They're forced to travel towards the unknown. Nobody decides where to go. Nobody knows where they will arrive. It is a journey that starts just to save themselves, because in their house it is not possible to stay. There is no choice, and this is told very well by the refugees, but they are not listened in the countries that should integrate them. As Christian communicators, we can we stay indifferent before this? Well, the answer can be diversified and interesting. Refugees are a sixth continent, as someone says, are young people. Those who leave are those who have more opportunities to survive on the boats coming to Europe, or at the border with Mexico in the African from the African continent. So we also we see sick people, we see people that do not have chances to be successful in a journey that can last months, years, can be extremely tiring and can cause death. A journey for a first migrant is very expensive. The family gets that for several years just to make the youngest leave, the one who has more opportunities to survive, to resist cold, deprivation of food. And so this sixth continent is made of young people, adolescents. 47 million refugees are less than 18 years of age. The average age is 33 years. These are our kids, the kids of Don Bosco. As long as you're young, I will love you. We are not interested in nationality. We're not interested in the ethnic group. We're not interested in your religious belief. What is interesting for us and for Don Bosco is that they are young. And so, a priority for those who deal with the youth and communication in the Salesian communication must deal with refugees and migrants who come to our communities, who want to integrate themselves, who want to feel an active part of a context, a community that can welcome them. That's why we're interested in migrants and refugees. That's why we are interested in integrating them and supporting them as much as we can. If you want to be good communicator, I added, practice these three things and everything will go right. Joy, study, and mercy. This is what Don Bosco used to say, and this can be a manifesto of social communication. I strongly believe in this. At the beginning, I didn't tell you that next to the Salesians there is a parish, Santa Maria della Speranza. 30 years ago, the parish didn't exist. There was one of the youngsters who was always there. Spent so many years in that parish. The first notions of communication were given to us by him, and so I feel home here and I feel involved by talking about Don Bosco, because some of the choices in my professional life had as guiding principle, the words by Don Bosco. I'm not saying that just to tell you something which is very personal, but just to tell you that a Salesian environment where there is joy, study, mercy can really change the life of a young person. And a communicator must use these three words. Um, joy with refugees, Refugees are masters of hope. This is what Pope Francis said. There are allies in the construction of a future which is of peace, welcoming, and they bring the good news.
Ma anche qui c'era la foto di altri, eccoli qua. Charity, Christelle,
So, Charity, Christelle, Madi,
Sheikh,
Adam, Sheikh, they're all faces of persons we met. They are persons that dream a cheerful life. They want to stay with their peers. They want to enjoy their life, and then communicated this beauty of staying together with refugees, listening to them, knowing them, creating exchange opportunities for a Salesian communicator is something that can really bring change. It can be something good for all the young people of the Western world who are rich, who have many other problems, but not the problems that refugees have. Democracy, peace, and future. Refugees teach us that if we don't cultivate the future, we risk losing it. This presence is a vital, regenerative presence. It generates living well together. We have to experiment in our context this joy, but we have to do that in an intelligent way, just as this conference is doing. Forced migrations are a very complex topic, are a very difficult topic to know and to understand. Laws, international conventions which try to manage this phenomenon must be understood. We must analyze data, because when you know data, when you realize the complexity behind the migratory phenomenon, we understand the majority of the information given today on forced migration is a superficial type of information that does not help us to understand, does not generate change, because it causes fear and causes distance and discrimination. These are a very complex topic. Migrations cannot be stopped. Those who say that are saying a lie. Migrations can be managed, they can be faced, they can be welcomed, but they are a phenomenon which has always existed, and we, our governments, in our continent where migrants come, we cannot stop this unstoppable phenomenon. It is a phenomenon that has to be structured and managed, because it can be a great resource for our communities. It's a trivial example. Italy doesn't has a zero natality birth, just in a birth rate, just like many other countries. And so the presence of migrants is what can shape our future, and we have to be aware of this. So joy, complexity, mercy, compassion, empathy, the capacity of creating a relationship and listening. The word listening is the most important word, is the key around which we have to build our communication, our social communication, our communication in the Christian field. Without listening, we cannot communicate. Today, communication is oriented to the content, to what we have to say, how to communicate it. But let's make a step back. Let's listen, because by listening to refugees, 70% of communication refugees is they are a treasure. They are a mine of stories that can become a good to share with our young people in order to create a new educational pact. So study, compassion, joy, empathy, mercy. Refugees, migrants are not a problem. They're not a number. They are people with a story. They want to have a future with us. From this we have to start. From this we have to build our communication plan. Our social communication must put at the center migrants and refugees and their stories, because a refugee talking about war is telling us something which is closer to our houses, our context, our communities.
Veniamo a questo bellissimo
And so let's see the title of this conference is Shaping Tomorrow. When I spoke with Father Maci and the Castri and the Holy See, I said the message for the refugee, the World Refugee Day of Pope Francis was an inspiration. Building a future with migrants and refugees means to recognize and value what everybody can bring to the building process. So this is the pillar which has to become the pillar of our communication, the contribution that refugees want and must give an important change of perspective. But those who have grandparents who experienced the war know that those the stories about dictatorships, the stories about the lack of freedom on the young people have an effect. Refugees are the carrier of those contemporary stories that tell us what happens in the world by carrying them to our house, and so with them we can create a better future. This is what Pope Francis tells us. We get in contact, continuous contact with refugees. The communication with refugees and migrants is a great testimonial. Pope Francis is teaching as its pillar migration, social justice, and integral sociology is an absolutely credible witness because he's with refugees. He knows them, he listens to them, he meets them, he spends a lot of time with them. I can say that because I personally know that this photo was taken in the canteen of Centro Stalli, it's a refugee center in Piazza Venezia. So he went there, nobody knew he was coming. He spent the whole afternoon with them. These people live in the street, they don't wash themselves, they live in shelters, but he was there as if he had known them forever. He was there to listen to them, he was there to listen to their stories, and this has completely changed the perspective of Francis. His words, his teaching is a guide for those who make communication, those who want to make communication with refugees. And here I conclude my intervention to give the floor to my friend with this tree. This is Matusalem. Matusalem is a secular tree which is 700 years old. It is an oak. Matusalem has Laudato Si on board of it, and I invite you to come for the Jubilee. The center, Laudato Si Center, is one of the pontifical centers. So Pope Francis told me I don't need a place to spend my holidays. Let's make the pontifical villas a place of integral ecology, a place open to all the goodwill people that by entering can make an immersive experience in the Laudato Si. The honored guests of this Laudato Si center, but there is a website, there is an Instagram page. I invite you to visit. So this center puts at the center refugees, vulnerable people, women who survived human trafficking, women who were persecuted, young people. This is their house. They have training, education there, and they are integrated in the work place. So many people say that climate change does not exist, but Pope Francis wants to demonstrate it is possible to live in a different way. It is possible to implement the principles of Laudato Si by creating this center, which is the main project of the Laudato Si Center where I work. So why did I decide to show you this photo? Because Pope Francis said the future city is a city with solid foundations. Roots are important. Don Bosco told us everything to us communicators. We need to read them again and again. He had a great intuition on how to love young people. This is an experience that can really implement change. Our roots, the Christian roots, the Salesian roots, are the ones that make us fly high, are the ones that make us raise our branches to the sky and create the change. This oak is the symbol of the Laudato Si Center, because after 700 years it keeps bearing fruits. It keeps helping the other plants which are in the surrounding environment to nourish them, to grow. It's a master, it's a guide, it's what we should be. We should have strong roots and look at the sky. Conclude with the sentence. And it came to my mind on the first day when I was here and I was listening to Rector Major. When we deal with something that concerns the great cause of good, Don Bosco always wants to be at the state of the art of the progress. I really love this statement. We spoke a lot about AI, social media, how to inhabit the spaces of the internet with the young people, and so being always updated with progress is a good conclusion for my speech before giving the floor to my friend, who's the protagonist of this session. Thank you.
Yes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, Dukle Ndonga, and I come from Cameroon. I've been a refugee in Italy since 2018, meaning that I've been here for almost 6 years. Before I start telling you my story, I have to say that this is not just my story, it's a story of many young people coming here to Italy, walking dangerous ways in their pursuit for freedom. They look for a better place to live, or they're just sometimes even just looking for food. Climate change, of course, is a major issue in the African continent and especially in my country, where the consequences of climate change are tangible. Every time I start telling a story, I express my gratitude towards the church. The community of the church has helped me a great deal here in Italy. I got to Italy by boat. I had no dresses on me, and thanks to them, I've been able to build my life. You may be wondering, without the reasons why I left my country, which journey I went through to get to Italy. I crossed 4 countries, including the desert. So I'm going to quickly tell you a little bit about the context in Cameroon. In Cameroon, the climate change has strongly hit the country. On top of that, in the English-speaking country, we have a conflict which is the legacy of the previous colonization. This conflict is deteriorating the social relations within Cameroon, as well as peace and stability at an institutional level. Our government is a sort of dictatorship which has been in place for over 40 years. Such political form doesn't give any chance to the youth of our country, meaning that there is no freedom and no opportunities in our country. A student at the University of Boya in Cameroon, where I was attending an MA in humanitarian rights, well, in order to finance my studies, I was teaching French in an English-speaking area. At university, usually you have difficulties because you have to study, and in my case, you had to work. But I decided to join a trade union, a union at the university, because it was necessary. I'm telling you this to show you that I've always been committed and being engaged in the union, in the university union, hindered my position, and it was one of the reasons why I had to leave my country. When in 2017 I engaged in the Student Protection Union, and I took part into a protest by this union where we were asking for an improvement of the students' conditions. We were also requiring for bigger independence. And when taking part into the protest, I was arrested and taken in a sort of prison for 2 months. They accused me of several things. Most of these things were not true. You know, in dictatorship, they use political offenses to limit freedom of expression and to limit democracy. Together with and with the help of humanitarian organizations, I was freed from prison. But when I was free, I was not safe. I was not totally free. I had to go to the closest police station once a week. And when I got back to the school where I was teaching before being arrested, they had actually fired me. So back then I couldn't do anything. I was feeling unsafe. I couldn't do anything I wanted. I could not participate in meetings. Back then, protests were still being organized in the English-speaking part of the area. The conflict, as I said before, still exists in that area of the country. I was in jail, and there was a bishop who was there with me, and he asked me to take part into a meeting as a member of the students' union of at the university. The idea was that of finding peace before concluding the school year. After such meeting, the government looked for all the people who had taken part into that meeting with the accusation of having incited the revolution and of having engaged into things they didn't engage in. So back then I felt in danger and I had to leave my country. How did I leave my country without a passport? Because when I got arrested, they seized my passport. Well, in only 10 days, I tried to move to Algeria. Sorry if I'm speaking too quickly, but I don't have enough time. It's difficult to tell a year-long story in only 20 minutes. So I left my country in 2017 and I got to Italy in 2018. So I reached Nigeria. I was there for 1 month and there I met different youngsters. And together with them, I continued my journey. In Nigeria, we met people who proposed us to help us continue our journey. The first objective was that of reaching Algeria because there was a nephew of mine who told me he was available to host me. So we paid for the trip and we started another trip that lasted 3 months.
il nord della Nigeria
We crossed
a finire
northern Nigeria,
con la Libia
and we ended up in Algeria at the border with Libya,
di terroristi
where finally a group of terrorists, where eventually a group of terrorists
in Libia sono rimasto quasi
took us. And I spent 7 months in Libya.
costretto di fare
I was in Libya. I was there and I worked,
per poter mangiare.
but it was forced work. I had to work in the fields,
Ho l'opportunità di raggiungere l'Italia perché
and it is in Libya where I find the possibility to get to Italy. Even though you are in Libya, if you want to get back to your country, it is very difficult.
di ritornare verso
At the beginning,
dove dovevo andare.
I felt like I wanted to go to Algeria. However,
Della frontiera
people discouraged me because
che ci ho provato
the border with Algeria was a very difficult one. So I tried Tunisia, but Al Juara,
veramente oggi, ma
the last city where I stayed at,
da un
and I can say luckily it turned out to be like that.
ho trovato una barca
Well, when I was there, I found myself accidentally on a boat,
una nave l'Aquarius
and
abbiamo sbarcato
I
Messina. Era un 3 aprile 2010.
we disembarked in Messina. The boat was the Aquarius, a humanitarian boat. I got to Sicily. I was taken to the reception center of Sicily, Caramineo, next to Catania, where I spent 1 month.
Non mi sentivo a mio agio, per me
I wasn't feeling well there because
questo campo
we were many people, too many people at that reception center.
stavo bene. Un giorno nella mia testa era Roma. Un giorno sono andato a
I wanted to go to Rome, so once I went to the coach station
Bella in questo campo che
because
una settimana si poteva
what's good of that reception center is that once a week
fare
you can go
una
with a bus
visita turistica di un'ora, quindi sono
to some nice place. You can be a tourist.
arrivato qui
So I took this bus, I went to the station, I spent the night at the station, and the morning after I took the coach to Rome. I met at Tiburtina station, I met a few people who told me to go to Baobab, an organization helping
e lì sono
people in my situation here in Rome. So I went to the Baobab Center. I spent a month there.
un centro d'accoglienza.
They tried to get me in a reception center, but it was very difficult.
La sorella di un amico che mi ha messo
Eventually, I met the sister of the friend who put me in contact with Astali, an organization, the Jesuit organization working for the refugees.
diciamo
And it was at Astali where I started my integration process.
un posto dove dormire perché a questo momento con il decreto sicurezza era molto
They couldn't provide me a place to sleep due to the safety decree in place in Italy. Therefore,
seguire
they told me which
chiedere i
bureaucratic procedure I had to follow. They told me to go to the police station to ask for the documents. They told me the language schools I had to follow. Therefore, I also took Italian courses. And then I was granted the status of refugee. I'm also enrolled in Roma 3, the university.
precaria, non potevo continuare.
But since my university is my situation is precarious, it's very difficult for me to attend university. I was suggested to enroll into vocational training. In fact, I went through a health professional, a social health professional, and actually nowadays I'm working as a social health professional. And when I can, when the time allows me, I
Nelle storie della mia
take part into this integration procedure. I contribute to the integration of other people. I go to school, I speak to young people, and I tell my story.
la mia storia, quello che sta raccontando è la storia di tanti altri giovani che hanno seguito un percorso che forse
The story I'm telling you is the story of
sono caduti
a huge number of people, the story of a huge number of people who haven't yet received their documents, who have been kidnapped, who are hold slaves.
li chiamano
These are people who haven't received their documents because they are called economic migrants, even though they are
di
living
pericolo
an extremely dangerous situation.
alimentare,
Situations when where there's no food security, for example.
non c'è dignità.
A human being
Non è che uno può dire che questo è
who's hungry is not safe. We cannot say that a person who's hungry has fled, is an economic migrant. You cannot grant protection only to people who are escaping armed conflicts.
migranti
Protection should be granted also to people who flee their country due to food insecurity.
climatico, perché
And we should never forget the major impacts of climate change.
parte settentrionale dell'Africa
When I was traveling in the northern part of Africa,
e anche nel mio paese mi ricordo che
I went through a desert
20 anni fa si
and I could see the effects of climate change there.
cominciava
Since I was a child in Cameroon,
l'acqua,
um,
i reni, con le
the rural exodus was present in many areas. We didn't have water,
con l'esplorazione del petrolio,
and we were
i fiumi,
kicked out of our countries because
il cibo.
multinationals come to our lands and they grab our lands. 70% of the African population and of the population of Cameroon
Ci sono inondazioni,
lived up on agriculture. But when you have droughts, when you have flooding,
diventa difficile
when
per la popolazione di vivere.
the season cycle changes, it is very difficult to keep working in agriculture.
Quasi la metà della popolazione in Camerun sono giovani, si ritrovano in
Almost half of the population in Cameroon are young people. They are not active, meaning that they're not working, and the political situation in our country doesn't allow them to stay, so they abandon their villages. They move to the cities.
oggi l'emigrazione, sono costretti di lasciare il paese. Quindi volevo
And then they are forced to leave the country.
questa cosa e ringraziare anche una nuova volta e di dire
And, well,
tutti quelli che
as I said, this is my story and the story of many people. Thank you for your attention. I'd just like to remind you that people coming here are not people who have
la voglia di venire
planned to come here or who have always had this strong will to come to Europe.
in alto,
They're just forced to leave their country and to come to Europe.
perché oggi tutti sono costretti a fare delle migrazioni, alcuni per altri motivi di studio, di amore.
Some people leave their country because they want to study abroad, because of love. However,
Forse è
most
storico
African youngsters
perché
leave their country
tanti anni fa
because they are unsafe there.
che facevano questi spostamenti forzati e se non vediamo la cosa di maniera globale,
We should see migration from a global perspective.
la mia voce sarà anche la voce
And my voice today
delle giovani ragazze che sono
is the voice of other young people who are here, who can't find a job and who can't find a way to integrate.
non hanno tempo per ascoltare
People who don't have people to hold on to.
fare questo intervento e poi e ringraziarvi ancora per
And once again, I'd like to thank you. I have said everything I wanted to. I don't know whether there are any questions from the audience.
Ci sono domande, se no finisco io.
Sì, sì.
Ecco, facciamo forse senza domande. Cerca
I guess we're going to,
Claire.
well, maybe we can skip the question and answer session. Donatella is going to conclude.
Mi fermo, quindi se non ci sono domande adesso.
Well, if there are no questions now, perhaps we can chat a little bit and give some clarifications at the end of this session.
Quello che abbiamo fatto oggi io e Duclair appunto è quello di creare uno spazio.
Duclair and I today tried to create a space where a refugee could tell
Sono le parole di un italiano.
his story with his words. He spoke in Italian. Italian is not his mother tongue, and it is a language that cannot express the complexity of his thought. And I think we've all experienced translation these days and expression in a different language.
Speriamo di aver restituito con questa esperienza
I hope that thanks to this experience,
in prima persona
we have been successful at sharing the personal expression, the personal experience by our friend. Well, when John Paul II said that we have to focus on people. Well, getting back to our context of works, church recreational centers, the Salesian communities, what we and Duclair would like to tell you is to
delle giornate,
invite you to create events,
una partita di biliardino, un cortile, in cui ci sia sempre
events,
spazio.
very easy events, even a football match where a refugee can tell their story, even though the story is not that moving, it always leaves something. Leclerc usually goes to Italian school,
Avvicinano anche quelli più resistenti, anche quelli più
and at the end of his speech, usually even people who are not that easygoing and who are not that sensible to these topics, they tell him, "I'm not angry with you. I'm angry at all other people like you." But there's no difference.
a raccontare.
So it is very important for young people nowadays in Italy to get to know the actual story, the real story of a person who's left this country, who's gone through many hurdles before embarking into the process of integration. Thank you very much. We've used different tools to tell you our story, and I believe that our contribution for you today was about this exchanging activity, but we wanted to underline the importance of exchange and of sharing. I work for the Holy See, so I'm going to mention the Old Testament. The Lord says, "Open your mouth to defend all the unfortunate one. Open your mouth and make justice to the unhappy and the Pope and the poor." I think that this is the mandate for all of us who
Dare voce a chi in questo momento
work in communication and who work to give a voice to people who cannot express their voice in the current world. Thank you very much.
Grazie di cuore per la vostra testimonianza.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Duclerc and thank you for your work. Thank you for your communication with and for migrants and refugees. Donatella and Lucrer, please stay with us, drink a coffee, and if you need it, we have 20 minutes when you can speak with him. See you at 11:45 to wrap up our conference. Thank you.
Sono pronto? Ok, ok, ok. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Come vuoi, dimmi uguale,
Faccio
posso
10
fare
minuti,
per...
oppure se li vuoi fare...
Ok, siamo pronti. L'ultima parte.
Dico per andare via prima,
L'ultimo momento. Now we are going to speak English for interpreters, for you. We are going to speak
No,
English
che poi faccio
now.
10 minuti così ci pensi.
Right. Dear participants of the International Salesian Communication Conference, dear friends, dear delegates, dear Salesians and lay people collaborating worldwide with us, with Salesian family. I am honored to stand before you at the conclusion of this important event dedicated to our common mission, social communication in the Salesian family. You've seen that our conference had many goals, many of them. And today, after this week, we can proudly say that you have made together significant progress in several key areas, in several key issues. Thanks to your commitment and contributions, we can now more confidently create communication that will build bridges in the future of the Church, of the Salesian family. We strive to ensure that through our stories, our actions, social media, internet, good Christians, that young people will become good Christians and honest citizens. They will grow in it. This is not only our mission, but also our calling. The world is calling us. We must be creative and innovative while maintaining our Salesian identity. We should not fear new technologies. Do not be afraid of new technologies. John Paul II. Here are some highlights, key issues, main guidelines we discussed during the conference, like communication as a way to realize the Salesian charism, young people at the center of the Salesian communication. We commit ourselves to educate, evangelize, and form responsible communication also in the digital environment. This is very important. Then we are aware of the changing communication age. We will ensure professionalism in the social communication of the Salesian family. We want to build the future of Salesian communication with migrants and refugees. We want to communicate ecology and climate change with the right professionalism. At the heart of Salesian communication, we place the common good of man and the Church. We will not be afraid of new technologies, and we will be attentive to the signs of the times. I feel personally that social communication is important as never before for the Church. As never before for the Church. I personally feel needed by the Church, by the Salesian family. Just think of it. Do you also feel needed in the Salesian family as communicators. Because the world needs us, our professionalism, our ideas, and our solutions for digital transformation. We feel that our actions have purpose and meaning. We feel part of something great. I feel a part of something great. Do you also feel needed by the church, by the Salesian family? Do you feel a part of something great in the Catholic Church worldwide? We are here because we want to shape tomorrow. We really want to shape tomorrow. We want to shape tomorrow of social communication, but we also want to shape tomorrow of the Salesian family in general and the whole church, the whole Catholic Church. This is why we are here. Do you feel it too in these days? We are here because we want to change the world. We want to change the world. That's why we are here. We didn't just come to Rome for a conference. We want to change the world. We want to change the Salesian family. We want to change the communication in the Salesian family. If we stick together, we'll get there for sure. We are looking for new solutions in social communication. We are discovering new lands. Want to discover new horizons? You need to lose sight of the shore, of the land you know, and sail on, sail on. Want to discover new horizons in social communication? You need to leave your land and sail into the unknown. Leave your land. There's the future ahead. Let us set sail on the digital sea fearlessly. Benedict XVI. When looking for new lands, new solutions, you don't have to know the answers to all the questions, but you will face some hard work, gaining knowledge and experience. Hard work, hard work. Want to learn how to speak in public? Speak in public. Want to learn how to edit short film forms? Start editing. Want to learn how to work with video camera? Start filming. You can't learn to swim without going into the water, said Bruce Lee. You want to change the world? Hard work. You want to change the communication in your province, in your country? Hard work. You want to shape tomorrow of the Salesian social communication? Hard work. You want to become digital missionary? Hard work. We are looking for leaders. We are really looking for leaders. Those who have vision, communication skills, empathy, can make decisions, build motivation and trust among others. We are looking for leaders who will work in the field of social communication. We are looking for them. Are you a leader? Are you a leader? We need leaders in communication, but not narcissists. We need leaders. We don't need people who care primarily about recognition and the opinion of others. We need people who are emotionally mature in social communication, people who know their worth. They don't need praise from others in order to move forward on their path. We are looking for people who know how to actively listen to others. Not those who are forever self-concerned with themselves and their successes. No, we don't need them. Are you a leader in social communication in your country, in your province, Are you a leader? We don't need digital narcissists. We don't need them. It is amazing how much one can achieve if one does not care about honors. Harry Truman, President of the United States. But remember that without courage, you will not become a leader. You will not become a leader. What kind of leader are you? Do you give hope to the people you work with? Do you give hope to your Salesians you work with? Do you give hope to the lay people you work with? Young people. Young people are the solutions for tomorrow. Young people are the solutions for tomorrow, are the solutions for social communication in our congregation. They are future leaders, young people. Every generation needs a new revolution. Every generation needs new leaders. Stop being afraid, at last. Stop being afraid. Stop finally being guided by the opinion of others. Stop seeking the good opinion of others. Follow your conscience and leave opinions to others. Fear of the opinion of others leads to very wrong actions, very wrong actions. I will do something or not do something because I'm afraid of how someone will react. I'm afraid of the opinion of the others. I will say something or not say something because I'm afraid. Or maybe they will react well, or maybe they will react badly. Or maybe they will praise me, or maybe they will criticize me. How should I behave? What an immature attitude. What an emotionally immature attitude. Such people will not change the world. Such people will not change the world. Such people should change themselves first. We still have a lot to learn. Sure, that's true. But don't pretend to be a media professional if you are not one. Don't pretend. And don't be afraid if you are just starting out. Don't be afraid. Be afraid if you think you are a media practitioner and the world tells you from the sidelines that you are rather a master of theory. Be afraid of this. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Be afraid when you have started to think that you don't make mistakes at all. There is no future for the Salesian congregation without social communication. No future. And there is no victory in social communication without risk. We know that. Digital continent, digital missionaries, migrants and refugees, ecological communication, institutional communication, and so on and so on. Without these issues, there is no future for social communication in the Salesian family. The moment you think you have reached your limits is the exact moment when you have to take a step forward. The moment you think you have reached your limit is the exact moment now, when you have to take a step forward. Michael Jordan. What is our future in social communication? What is our future? Our future does not end here, in this place, in Rome. The fruit of this conference could be, for example, the creation of a think tank to monitor Salesian communication worldwide, especially among young people. The think tank could operate focusing on the research and analysis in social communication from a Salesian perspective. Its goals would be broad and ambitious, from generating solutions in the field of communication, actively participating in public debate, to influencing decision-making processes on an international level, also in the Salesian congregation. What is the future? What is our future in social communication? Digital missionaries. We need to become and prepare digital missionaries to work on the digital continent, on the missionary digital continent. This is my personal opinion. In my opinion, this is the most beautiful intuition of the Catholic Church when it comes to the future of social communication, when it comes to the now and the future of social communication in the Catholic Church. The Salesian congregation has a great vision for communication. We are called to something great in media. But do you know where you are going? We have dreams. We have dreams, all of us, about the future of social communication, of Salesian family. But let's remember that dreams without purpose remain just dreams. Dreams without purpose remain just dreams. On the other hand, it always seems that something is impossible until it is done. Nelson Mandela. If you will be a provincial in the future, remember the importance of social communication. If you are going to become a rector major in the future, remember the importance of social communication. If you are going to work with Salesian family, remember the importance of social communication. The future of social communication lies in our hands. In our hands. We decide the future of the Salesian family and of the social communication in the church, in the whole church. Each of us, really, each of us has within the power to shape tomorrow. Dear friends, our work is far from over, but thanks to your dedication, passion, and professionalism, we are on the right track. I'm sure we are on the right track. Huge gratitude to you all for coming to see us here in Rome, to take part in this conference. It is a great honor for us to be able to serve you. It's been a great honor, really. And a huge thank you to the entire so-called Dream Team. 8 people, Dream Team who worked before and during this conference. I would like to invite you to the stage. The whole Dream Team. Come on, guys, Dream Team. Come on, vieni Riccardo, vieni. Okay. Poprawcie grzywkę, tak. So this is our Dream Team. Carlos, a Salesian from Venezuela. Living and studying here at university. Darek from Poland, ex-provincial from Poland. Excellent. He's been here for 1 year for his studies at UPS. Marcin, the director of the mission office in Krakow in Poland, studied here in Rome. From Poland, excellent. Ola, young lady from Poland, working with us all the time. Monika from Poland. We used to work with Monika and with Ola for 6 years in Polish public television together. Monika, the mother of 4 young children. Okay. Mami, a Salesian studying here. Excellent. A Salesian studying here, Mami from Madagascar. Madagascar. And Riccardo Campoli from Argentina. Argentine. Jeszcze zostańcie na scenie. Ricardo from Argentine, a member of a sector of the communication sector of the General House. This is our dream team. Many thanks to Pierluigi Lanotte and his people. Pierluigi, ciao. Thank you very much. Guys, you were wonderful. Thank you very much for your work. Many thanks to Don Renzo, the university economer. It would have been difficult without you, Don Renzo. I don't know if you are here. Many thanks, Don Renzo. Many thanks to Harris and his people for your work on us on social media. Thank you very much. Fabio Pasqualetti, where are you? Thank you so much, Fabio, for staying and working with us. Thank you so much. A great thanks to Selena and the interpreters who served us during these days. Guys, thank you very much. Great gratitude to Don Gildasio for all your support at all times. Thank you for your presence and commitment. Together we can achieve a lot, you can see. Together we can stick together, we can achieve a lot in the future. May the Holy Spirit and Saint John Bosco, who are here with us, guide us in the future in our actions. Thank you very much. We wish you all a safe journey home. Maybe see you at the next conference. And finally, a word of conclusion from Don Gildasio. Thank you very much.
Venite. I'm going to speak English, however, I would like to say at the beginning, mes amis, meus amigos, my friends, carissimi amici, amigos e amigas. This is the word I'd like to address you. I'm going to be brief, but the main purpose of my words is to thank you and give you some announcement. First thing, I'd like to share with you that Our delegates of communication who are here present, their team, are the best treasure that you have in the Department of Communication of the Salesian Order. You are the treasure. You are the most important. And from the very beginning till the last day, we will be repeating this. You are important. You are important. Now, we walk with you. As you remember, during the COVID crisis, we started the School of Communication. Some people told me, Father Gildasio, you are crazy. People will not respond. I said, well, we have courage. We started this School of Communication, you remember, in many regions. I was professor, Bible aspect of communication. Ricardo Salesianity, Haris Ecclesial, Miguel Angel, youth minister, pastoral. Remember Fabio Pasqualetti helping us, many people. And at the very beginning, I told you, we will celebrate the conclusion of the School of Communication in Rome, August, at the Salesian University. Will be the climax. We'll be in the mountain. Here we are. We thought, will the delegates come during this hot, summer? How many people will come? The Hector Mage asked me twice, Father Gildasio, how many will come? I said, more than 100. Here you are. Your presence is prophetic. Leaving your country, getting your luggage, working hard to get your visa, working hard to get your money, leave your family, your community, to come here, this is the best gesture. For me, this is the best message of communication, my friends. It's truly. Because it's not easy to travel nowadays. When we start as a Department of Communication, myself, Ricardo, Haris, and Mattia, we did decide to take 4 roads. When people ask me, say, Father Gildasio, what's the purpose of this department? We have very clear, very clear. What was the first one? The map road. 2, strength. 2, take care. 2, prioritize human relations. My team know, I used to tell Ricardo, Haris, Mattia, don't fight against our delegates, please. No. They are so precious. Better fight with me, because if you lose a delegate, if delegate is not with us, we lose everything. We have prioritized human relationship. And I'm so happy, I think the Hector Major, everybody noticed the serenity, the fraternity, the peace among us. So this has been built together. We are very proud. So network of a human relationship. Secondly, very clearly, formation. How many School of Communication? How many meetings online? We travel all over this globe, meet with you in your provinces. Meeting that Ricardo, Haris, myself, Mattia, every month. Formation. Thirdly, I could say management. Today, if someone asks, Father Gildasio, do you have coordinator in Africa? Yes, Father Rigobert. Father Gildasio, you have coordinator in India? Yes, Father Ernest. Father Gildasio, you have someone responsible of the Salesian Bulletin in America? Yes, Vicente. We want to hold a meeting with the coordinators of the communication in the world. One click, everybody online. We want to have start a project in East Asia Oceania. Father Ambrose, as I saw here, thank you, you already start to talk to your people how to do after this, Today, we have an intelligent, smart, practical networking and management in the world. We are very proud. Thirdly, now I talk first, network of relationship, management, formation. And finally, we have to take seriously this digital transformation. We have to go together. We are very proud about having this in this event. Our coordinators, Father Rigobert for Africa, Father Ambrose for East Asia, Oceania, Father Ernest, Asia, South Asia, Pablo, America, Spanish language, João Carlos, Brazilian, America, Brazilian language, Javier for Mediterranean, and Marcin for Europe Central. Thank you, because without you, we cannot do the work we are doing. I'd like to take this opportunity, I know, Father Mattia, that you did, ask applause for those who, have been working hard. I invite, Renzo, because you agree with me, the food was delicious, the presence, everything, Father Renzo and his team. So I asked him, he's in the back. Could you please give applause there? Renzo, thank you for you, and Paulo, great team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Grazie di cuore pela tua presenza, pela tua criatività e per tutto il lavoro di questo giorno. Abbiamo mangiato bene, We are really happy and proud about having here with us Father Holland, who is the provincial of Cameroon. When the Hector Major met him, said, "What are you doing here?" Because he's a referent of Africa for communication. We have here Father C.M. Paul from India, who worked many, many years in communication. Now it's great to have you. Father Francisco, ex-provincial Manaus, Father Chicão, now is delegate of communication of Manaus, and Father João Carlos, who was also provincial. And we are very happy for having Monsignor Thomas, Archbishop, former Archbishop from Guwahati. Let us give an applause to them, I do ask you, dear coordinator delegates, after you go back to your province, try to organize what can you do practically, concretely, slowly, step by step, what you have proposed in this conference. Think about meeting together what you are going to do next year. Pick up 2 or 3 projects, no more. But it's very important to give continuation. The question or the proposal I'd like to make to you is this. Once we have concluded this School of Communication with this conference, could we, as a delegate of communication, promote the second School of Communication? Organize your province, or in your region, what's up to you? I think it would be great for the next, 2, 3 years, if you could coordinate a school of communication. Why school? Because school of communication is a convergence process. You meet together once a month, you give formation, you share projects, you share strategy. It's very important. I'd like to take this opportunity also to thank Father Fabio Pasqualetti. He's here with us. And Fabio, when I came here to study communication, he was in Michigan State University. He was my professor. And he was the one who helped me to enroll at the Michigan State University for my master and my PhD. And Fabio is one Salesian who believes in communication. He dedicates himself complete for communication. He's the one who believes in communication, and he's the one who never let us to be in the comfort zone. So I'd like to ask you one applause and thank you, Father Pasqualetti. Thank you, Fabio. Grazie. It talk about oops, as you realize, this conference take place in a university. Of course, please understand what I'm saying to you. Going back to your province, especially you Salesians, talk to your provincial, make a question. Will you not be good for the province, have a Salesian or a lay person going to Italy to study communication at the Salesian University? Okay, ask the question, humbling. Don't tell that, I raised this question. Tell them, what about for master or PhD? Because we have some students. And Bozo reminded this at the beginning. Why not? 2 years. A master in communication in our Salesian faculty. I would like, again, I did not know, was dream team, but actually, Father Mattia, dream without worth, my goodness, how you work hard. Mattia, when I asked him one day, come to my office, I present to him the conference and said, you are going to be the coordinator, because I know his experience, his passion. And then he said, Father Guidazio, I will do everything, but I have only one condition. Tell me, money? No. I want to organize my team. You are free. So, this great team that we want to thank you again, and thank you, Father Ricardo, for his participation, for his passion, Father Harris, and thank you especially, Father Mattia, for being the brilliant, the fraternal, the professional director of this orchestra. Thank you. And thank you this team, I'd like Monica to tell, that Barbara take this little Laura every day with us. What a great example. Thank you for being with us, and each one of you, thanks so very much. Because without a team that work well, you can have a problem. I tell you, only Mattia called me 3 times, for technical issues. He did not call, Father Guidazio, we are here fighting, my team does not understand each other, come here to make peace. No. Very organized, team. Everybody work together smoothly, peacefully. Congratulations. I don't know if Duclair, Migongan, and Donatelli are still here, Donatella Parisi, but I am really pleased that we closed this conference listening to this Duclair. And here I'd like to make 3 points, quickly. My dear friends, going back to Don Bosco, what is the center, the heart of our communication? Young people, the poor. If we continue work with the poor, migrant, refugee, children, young people, we will be in the right road of the history. We will be in the right road of the history. The best testimony that you can give in communication is work with the poor. I tell you this, sincerely, I believe this. We use technology, media, everything, but it has to come from experience. And about this, you are already doing a great job. You are already doing a great job. You know that I visit Africa, I visit almost every continent, in many provinces. And I can tell you strongly, firmly, with conviction, you guys are doing a great job. Of course, we have to continue to grow, but let us celebrate and thank God for the great work that you are developing in your provinces, with your team, with your provincial, with youth ministry, with mission. Communication is always parting from reality. And then there is one thing I always tell, especially in the presence of the General Council, in the presence of provincial, be careful about this. In the Salesian order, each province has its rhythm, its history, its culture. We cannot compare. Okay? Great that we are different. Don't try to put everybody in the same level. No. Great that we are different. In the difference, we will build up unity. So I'd like to finish sharing with you two things. I'm not here to make a marketing of what we are doing. It's not my style. However, we have also to proclaim the good things you do. The first is about this new document of social communication. I think you remember. We started with Instrumento Laboris 4 years ago, and now the text is done. Simple, practical, updated, and I personally think is one of the best documents that you have in the church, in the Salesian order at this moment. This is fruit of your work, fruit of your vision, insights. I like to highlight one very important thing. This document is written by the Department of Communication and will be published by the Department of Communication. É documento del settore, va bene? So, we are translating this document and we will share this document with you and during the general chapter. What you have in this document? What, many of you questions that you raise, biblical base of communication. A theological base of communication, Christological base of communication, anthropological base of communication, ethical aspect of communication, dialogue between education, evangelization, and digital world, the system preventive that inspire communication, what's the profile and the methodology of the delegate of communication. Then the last part is about administration, about how to work in the province, okay? We are very proud. It is the fruit of our work, So today, I brought only this copy, I'm not give to anyone, but you will receive, okay? Here am I. Okay. So, sometimes people make this question, Father Gildásio, your team, you, Father Ricardo, Father Harris, and Father Matia, we know that you work hard. Do you reflect? Do you read? Do you write? Yes. I can tell you, you can verify, we have been written letters, articles, projects, many things that this Department of Communication have published. So, when you write a book like this one, I just wrote a book about Dom Bosco, his pedagogy. The book is called Como se vedesse l'invisibile. L'invisibile, Como se vedesse l'invisibile. È arrivato la traduzione inglese e dopo in spagnolo. So, we'll be glad to share with you this book. Introduction was written by Padre Pascoal Chaves. What we present here, how Dom Bosco dreamed and was able to communicate, love the youth. Then there is another book, nobody has seen, even my team, It's called Paralelos 15 and 20. Paralelos 15 e 20. One book, in which we propose the dialogue between Dom Bosco, neurosciences, quantum physics, digital world, artificial intelligence, okay? This book was written in English, and we like to share this with you. So, I'd like to give this book to someone. To Abigail. Where is Abigail? Abigail, come here. I'd like to give a present to you, and I'm going to tell you why. Yeah, Abigail, come here. You know why? This young lady from Ireland, she came, to this conference, and she's pregnant to wait a baby. Let's give an applause to her. It's okay? You come here. Yeah. Because as I told you, it's why they came, because they believe that's good. She believed that I go there, Father Kudas, wait, a baby is the first baby. So I give to you my first book, English, okay? God bless you. And health for you, for your baby. Thank you. You're welcome. Pardon? You want a picture? Come here. She wants to take a picture. Go there. We will pray for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
As you have seen, there are two nuns. We invite many. But there are two nuns, from a young institute. Sister Cristina and Sister Teresa, they were here every day. So, Cristina, I will invite you to come. Vem cá, Cristina. Prende com esse livro em nome da tua amiga Teresa. E livro de Dom Bosco. Thank you for your presence. They lived, nearby Termini, Sacro Cuore, and come every day. She told me, Father Gildásio, we want to start communication in your institute. Come here, give a hug, and take a picture. Young sister, she's from Argentina. In the book. God bless you. Look there, Father.
Grazie.
We have a great project about digital transformation. One this project is called mobile journalism. One second one is called Dom Bosco Global Film Festival, coordinated by Father Harris. The Global Film Festival this year will take place in New York from 17th, 18th of October, and we ask you, to help, to promote, to organize in your provinces. Okay? And please, this new project, mobile journalism, that is growing, let us promote this as well in our provinces. I'd like to finish, ask you to trust this conference, each one of us, all you did for Mary Help of Christians. She's a great communicator, Mary. I ask that she protect you as you go back home. For those who continue here in Europe, we ask God that you may have a very safe and pleasant journey. Let us pray together, Hail Mary, in our own language. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed art thou, and blessed the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. My dear friends, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now, pranzo, Matia, bom almoço, good lunch. Okay, thank you. Thank you.